Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel and to another story time tonight. This story time is about something that took place in my beloved old backyard. Not my childhood backyard, but my adult backyard. Abroad at my beach house. And this story is pretty scary. It's pretty scary, but it was one of those things that brought a lot of people together. It brought a lot of community effort, and like it pulled together a lot of community effort from everybody, all of the neighbors around us, my mother and I. And at this time, my father was passed away, and I'm pretty sure that it was after my separation from my ex-husband, which eventually led to a divorce. And I know that it had to have been before 2010 because we sold the condo in 2010. So it was after the split and before the selling of the condo. So, I want to go over a little bit regarding the content, regarding the context, regarding what I was going through. And this story is not about me. It's not a story time about what happened to me. It's a story time about what happened in the building, which was situated right on the beach and right along the main tourist strip. And it was something that I'd never gone through before. I never witnessed or experienced before. And I remember going through a lot of weird stuff in general on my own, not just over with these other people, but on my own, due to the breakup, due to the split. And I was very swift to proceed with the divorce, very quick, within a month, within 2 months. And I realized, because I was so attached to my ex-husband as a friend and as a husband as well, that if I didn't make a clean break, it would end up, for instance, like the gentleman who kidnapped me and took me to Niagara Falls when I went on my coffee break from work. I knew that if I stuck around, I would end up really suffering. And so, also, I didn't think that he was going to be happy in my country, where I am, compared to where he had been. He had moved to California for 7 years before he came back to where his home was and where I was. And so he was used to a very free and easy, carefree life. Although he was a hard worker, I'm not saying that he was lazy or anything like that. I thought that I knew him extremely well, and I think for the most part I had him down. I had him pegged pretty correctly. I just think that everything came to a head because he wasn't prepared to face a 6-month long winter in a country he'd never been to, because when we got married, he came over here. We got married the day before I came back home. And so we were married abroad. And, I'm going to get to my wedding day in another story time, because I think that in order to understand where I'm coming from emotionally and, mentally and intellectually, you need to know these things, and sometimes why I behave the way I do in these story times. To me, it was the most incredible, the most beautiful paradise. And I'm not just talking about the beach and the sunset. If I can find some clips at the end, I'll attach them. Um, it was, I couldn't believe how peaceful and tranquil a person can become when they're living in the most beautiful surroundings that they could have ever dreamed about. I'm also talking about some of the friendships that I was striking up with some of the local people whom I loved. Some of them were not, lovable. And there was a lot of, mischief and conning from time to time. I think it really accelerated after my breakup. And so I was in those years after the breakup, between 2003 and 2010, for those 7 years, I was undergoing turmoil, not only because I felt like I had wrenched my other half away from me. I was cruel to myself. I wasn't coping very well at all. This was one person who was so much like my first boyfriend, I thought. And I thought it was him all over again. Not only the looks a little bit and the hair but the manner of speech. He was so cute. Not only he was handsome, but he was pretty cute in the way that he behaved and the way that he talked and acted. He wasn't a flirt. Oh my God, I couldn't believe that he wasn't a flirt. Okay, he flirted with me. I don't know if he flirted with other girls. Of course he must have, but never in front of me. And he was very mindful that they wouldn't do that in front of me. He was very mindful of that. He was very, I don't know how you say, I'm trying to find the word for it. Considerate is part of the word, but he was like a guardian angel. And so there I go again with the same description of my first boyfriend. And indeed, my first boyfriend was like a guardian angel. Not many of us can go around saying that. But I can, because that's how I remember him. And he popped into my life. Both of them popped into my life when I was when I was blossoming from an overweight person, or a slightly overweight person. A size 8 is overweight for somebody who's 5 feet. So in 2003, I had dropped about 40 pounds within 2 months. And I was like this, guys. But I felt good, but what angered me was that other people responded so positively to me all at once, all of a sudden. And that really, ticked me off. It took me a while, but I got really ticked off, because that meant that people were judging me by my looks and by my weight and, all the standards that I dislike about society, in terms of women and how they should look and dress. So, I was trying to, when this situation happened at my beach house, I was in a time period where I was realizing that even though I was struggling to cope without him or without happiness, because for me, all chances were over. All chances at happiness with someone else were gone, and I would not try again, and I didn't. So I was really being hard on myself, but it got to the point where I realized that no, he was the one, just like my first boyfriend, and I'm gonna give up. I'm gonna give up. And I was giving up. In those days after we split up, I never saw him again there. He would sneak around and hide in bushes. I know that because I heard them wrestling. I know that. And that's what they did to me there. Even before I met them, the guys did that. So I don't know why. But it's kind of creepy, you know. And all my paradise, all my dreams that had come true had reversed and now were becoming a nightmare. And I was completely tangled up in them, uh, in the nightmares, and I couldn't break free from it. I couldn't, I didn't know how. I didn't know how to cope. All of his friends who lived, or I mean, I should say worked in the area where my condo was, were, they turned right against me. Even though I tried my best with this guy, I tried my best. I did so many cartwheels for him. Um, and he had, you know, I'll tell that story another time. But no, I didn't hate him. I didn't hate him, but in a way, I thought that I would be trying to help him by forcing him to stay away from me, um, not to get used to the life that I was living over here in this country, because he couldn't do it, guys. He couldn't do it. And with my mom, it would have been impossible. There's no way. I had not a chance or a hope or a prayer. Nothing. I had to break it off. And so this was the time period in which I was really in a lot of turmoil, and my mother and I were not doing well together. We, since the breakup and since the marriage and the breakup, she distrusted me. She treated me like a child. I was in my early 40s, and she gave up on me. She was so disappointed in me, and she couldn't stop reminding me of how big a failure I was. And so, yeah, I know that I failed at that. I failed at life, guys. I failed. I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back to that time period. I don't want to go back to that location. I want it to stay the way I remember it in my good days, but so I was having problems all around with everybody around me. And when this turmoil broke loose in the condo, I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to do. I was petrified. I was really petrified. So that night, it happened at night. That night, while my mother and I were still upstairs in our condo, and I'm almost sure that we had dinner in, and I think what we were doing was we had gotten our shorts on, and I believe, for to the best of my recollection, I believe that we were on our way to Walmart by cab, because my mother at that point was not well enough to walk, even though it was just a 5-minute distance. She had done it before, but we were getting ready to get into a cab. So we were upstairs. Now, I should say that the Walmart there, I think there's 2 or 3 of them. I think they're all open all night. And so it was easy for us, because during the day there's a lot of traffic, there's a lot of heat. My mother wouldn't go shopping during the day, and she was a type not like me that would buy everything all at once. And geez, we were, the bellboys would be running to help us, but I thought, why do we have to do so much shopping? Let's just eat out all the time. But anyway, I remember that we were on our way out to pick up a few things at Walmart. And we were forever running out of beverages. So I remember going out into the hallway, and I smelled something like somebody was building a fire or something. And now I should add that nobody in the building had fireplaces, not even the electric ones, or not there. Maybe now they do, but not then. And so I was just, sometimes, they burn garbage at night. You never know. I was thinking, what is that? What is that? And I saw that the air was kind of smoky. Now, I should also add here that the elevator and the stairwell, they were not on the inside. They were on the out in the open. Our front balcony and our back balcony faced the tennis court and the ocean, respectively. And so, right out in front of the front door was the tennis courts and the squash courts, and then the street, the parking garage, and then beyond that was the main strip, the street where cars and people were, and it was it was a very warm night. It usually was, and I should add that this was very likely around the end of February because my mother and I would usually head off between the middle of January and the middle of February. And that was our habit because we usually like to wind down after Christmas and clean up, take care of bills, and then go away. And so this time of year, guys, right now, we're November the 16th. This would be precisely the time of year that I would be out buying bathing suits and shorts and all the stuff that I would need to get ready to go away for 2-3 months. And it was always the case that I would say, no, I'm going to stay. You go home, Ma. You go home. And she wouldn't go without me. She wouldn't. I was so happy about that because I didn't want to stay there alone. But I always changed our reservations. And I would pay for her to change the reservation from time to time. She always argued with me that I never paid for anything, but I always tried to. Anyway, she hated it there. My mother hated it there because it was without my dad, and she never really did enjoy it that much because it was a lot of cooking and cleaning for her. We had a cleaning lady, but still, everything was always dirty. You know how it is when you're at a beach house. You get sand everywhere. All you have to do is look at it and there's sand. So we had a lovely cleaning lady, but it was just the type of place where it was never enough to go out and buy a piece of furniture or a new towel set. You always wanted to make it better and better and better. No matter how clean it was never good enough. We always felt kind of icky there. But that's why my mother hired that cleaning lady. She was super good at cleaning. And she stayed with us for years. Beginning right after my father passed away in 96. And so she was with us right up until 2010. And she was good. I could trust her. From time to time, she would pull a fast one. But like the party that my ex had behind my back and I didn't know about it, she was part of that, guys. She was really sneaky. But her son and him were buddies. So he felt like he had her in the palm of his hands. You know what I mean? The things that guy pulled off. Anyway, I went out and I heard a commotion on the stairwell. First of all, I pushed the elevator and I don't remember what happened. Somebody coming up the stairwell saying, no usar el ascensor, no usarlo. And so I thought, oh my God, ¿qué pasa? And fuego, fuego. Oh my God. And then all the lights turned off. And I was standing there in the middle of everything. There were apartments all along. And I couldn't see. And so finally, I got in. I told my mother. I went back to the condo and I said, I don't know what's going on, but we can't go anywhere. And she said, oh my God, what's happening? What's happening? I think what happened was, guys, that we took the elevator. Oh, now I remember. We took the elevator down, and then we heard people saying, fuego, fuego, no usar el ascensor. And so my mother and I had already gone down using that elevator. And I thought, oh my God, why didn't anybody tell? Well, that's what happens when there's a fire. You find out sometimes when it's way too late. And so we were there. The lobby was littered with people coming up from the beach or coming back from dinner or trying to go out to dinner. Everybody was in the lobby. Again, the lobby was all in the outdoors, all in the open. And people were screaming, and some people were crying, and children were crying. And my mother was about ready to pass out. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was going on. I don't understand what happened. And so what happened was, if it were me, guys, I would have just gone out. I would have gone out. I maybe would have grabbed a hotel room somewhere. I didn't want to stay there. I was too panicked. But my mother, she wanted to stay and find out what was going on. And I don't know why we ended up not going anywhere. I guess because of all the turmoil and the trauma, my mother didn't want to go anywhere. And so, I mean, I wasn't thinking of going out and having a good time. I just wanted to get out of that environment. It was very panicked and I couldn't handle it. And I could see that the air was all smoky. I don't remember if it was difficult to breathe. Usually over there in the heat, it's difficult to breathe, but I don't think it was at the point that we needed respirators or anything like that. And lucky for us, it was all out in the open. We weren't locked in between all these walls. That is probably what saved us, because there were fires even after that. So I read about it in the news. Anyway, guys, nobody could find out what was going on. Somebody called the fire department. The security was, trying to help us up with a flashlight up the stairs, because we were not to use the elevator. And I know that there were some people there who were sick and couldn't stay there. They had to get up to their rooms. So I remember one of the security guards coming with a bunch of us on the stairwell with a flashlight. And then during another period that we were on, now you figure we were on the 8th floor. How many flights of stairs that was? At least 3 or 4 for every floor. So that was a lot of stairs, and my poor mother couldn't do it. And people were coming up and down the stairs with a lighter, because it was pitch black, guys. Pitch black. And that stairwell, it is kind of covered with walls. There was no light. There was no air. And there were babies there who were screaming. They were scared out of their minds. And my mother, I thought my mother would pass right out, because to go through that physical strenuous activity, I didn't know if she was going to pass out or anything, and she couldn't stop and rest. Guys, I don't want to think about it, but we were so terrified. We were terrified that the building would just start burning. We didn't know what the source of the fire was, where or who started it, where it was. We just smelled smoke and all the lights were off. To this day, I don't know if it was a prank. I don't know who was behind it. I don't know if, the security might have been behind it, or maybe somebody else from the outside. Because I remember a few years before, in 2003, the security was being replaced by another company. And so they pulled all kinds of pranks like that. They pulled fire alarms, and they pulled so many pranks, guys. And they even threw the fire hydrant into the pool from way up high. Just a prank, just as a prank. And I was so dismayed when I saw that behavior. So you never know. And I always, when I was going up the stairs with everybody else, I thought to myself, if he were here, if my ex were here, he would be able to find out in a minute what was going on, because he knew how to get, the right information out of people. He knew how to get to the truth. And I always found him to be an honest person. At that point, even though I could never trust him again, I sure wish that he had been around so I could ask him to find out what the heck is going on, because we don't know where the fire is. We could smell it, and we knew that the lights were knocked out. We didn't know. My mom, well, I'm speaking for my mom and I, because we talked about it afterwards. We didn't know if if there was a prank, it would have been the same person turning off the lights, pulling on the fire alarm. Maybe they burned something to make the air smell like smoke. Guys, I don't know. I don't know, because we never found out what was wrong. We couldn't find out from the manager the next day. We couldn't find out from any of the staff. We couldn't find out from the security. So I have a feeling that somebody did something as a prank. And because over there, guys, everybody gets drunk. It's kind of a rowdy place sometimes. And you always have to take everything with a grain of salt. But it was so terrifying, even after that, because I didn't know if something else was going to happen. And if I can remember correctly, guys, this incident, my God, probably was after the time where I was almost fatally harmed in my own condo. I think it was after that. And so I was extra scared. I have that story time coming. That's another story. I was extra scared. I was petrified. I had post-traumatic stress disorder. I would panic and become frozen and quiet and dead still every time a crisis like that would happen, because of my post-traumatic stress disorder at the time. Not only was I knocked around by my ex quite a few times and unconscious, but all the headaches and the dizziness, I also had post-traumatic stress disorder. And what he did to me after I divorced him, that I don't know if he was behind the fatal harming, but I know that he was relentless. He had all kinds of people harassing me. I know his tactic. I know that when I quit talking to him for a while before we got married, that's what he did to me to get me back with him. So I could sense that it was something like that, but I could never be sure about the fire because there were so many people there at the time. international and national, from all over the country, and from North America and wherever else. There were a lot of people there at the time, so I could not speak for anybody else except for my own opinions and ideas. I have a feeling that it was a prank, and it was done to scare everybody after it got dark and to keep everybody inside. Well, at around 8:30, 9 o'clock, everybody's going in and out. The night is young. And a lot of people did go shopping at night because it was cool. Now, we had one grocery store right across the street from us. And it was probably one or the other that we were on our way to that night. And my mother, after that, she was no good. She was so stressed out, she took it out on me. Um, it was things like that began to creep me out. I do have the idea that it was after 2007. So it would have been after 2007. I think it was very close to the year that we sold the condo. And then I never went back. But it was horrifying, guys, to go up and down the stairs with no light, no air, everybody falling all over each other, and it was unbelievable. I could never relax after that. I didn't want to be there anymore. I remember thinking, this is it. I've had it. I've had it. I mean, when there's a fire in this condo, if any alarm should ever go off, the fire department comes. The fire department did come, but we never were able to find out anything about what happened. And why would they tell it? They were telling us to go back upstairs. Why? I don't understand. And I don't understand why everybody listened to them. Why couldn't we go out on the street? I remember vaguely that they were trying to stop us from leaving the building. I don't know why, guys. In all that commotion and confusion, I don't think anybody even asked, why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? And nobody asked the right questions. That's what makes me suspect it wasn't all very real. And I suspect it was a prank. And so that's my story time. A short story time tonight, but a story time nonetheless. It seems that whenever I went somewhere or anywhere, always had one or two emergency situations popping up. But this one was a real Lulu. I didn't know if we were going to get out of there alive, because why were we going up? I don't understand that part. I would have been going down. We were already down and they made us go back up. I don't understand. I don't understand. That doesn't make sense to me. You know what I'm saying? Why did my mother do it? Why did I do it? Anyway, guys, I guess the moral of the story is, if there's ever a fire, I wouldn't stick around and wait to burn up. That's for sure. I'm pretty sure it was a prank. And I believe that whoever did it made a mess and didn't want anybody else to see it. And that's what probably the security was trying to do, to prevent anybody from seeing the mess. And maybe somebody started a fire on purpose. I don't know. I sure smelled smoke though. So anyway, guys, I guess the moral of the story is, always second guess the other person, even if they have a position of authority. Don't challenge them, but I mean, it doesn't make sense to me that we weren't allowed to go out. They were stopping us from leaving. I don't know what it was, guys. I think my memory fails me a little bit, but I don't understand why we were all so petrified and yet we couldn't find the source of the fire. I don't think there was any source. I think it was just all hogwash. And sometimes people, it might have been the tourists. I don't know. I have no idea. But always be careful when you go away, especially. Don't let anybody talk you into something that doesn't make sense. Just because you don't live there all the time, it doesn't mean that everybody else is right and you're wrong. They try to fool everybody. I think if it were me on my own, I would have just gone to a hotel that night. As a matter of fact, once or twice I did do that. Not for a fire, but for other reasons. And, I that memory really sticks out in my mind. It terrified me. And it made me realize all the more that it wasn't a safe place anymore. And people were changing. People were doing this for entertainment. And so it dawned on me that the wrong crowd had crashed our condo. A lot of them were renters, although it wasn't allowed to rent there. A lot of them were just there once and that was it. So you never know. I think that brings a lot of negative experiences because people, when they don't live there, they don't care. They don't pay the bills for the maintenance. They don't care. Obviously, it wasn't a property owner. So, anyway, guys, I'm going to leave you with that. Thank God I'm still alive. I'm still in one piece, even that time. And it really put my mother and I on edge. She was furious with me after that because she was nervous, and that's how she took out her frustrations by by being nasty with me sometimes. Not nasty, but nervous. Arguing and challenging me every 2 minutes. That's my mom. She really kept life interesting, guys, and I miss her all the more for it. But anyway, that is the end of my story time. So I will be uploading something else tomorrow. I just finished filming it, and I'll have another video for you tomorrow. Another video regarding Christmas home decor. And so you can watch me decorate. So everybody, if you have any comments or any suggestions, ideas, please let me know below. I would love it if you just stopped by and said hi to me. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye for now.